Hi, welcome to part 2 of my I Read My Best Friend's Favorite Books, Heather edition. You can watch the first part of this series when I read Heather's favorite book, or one of her favorite books, Where the Crawdads Sing, in the vlog I did. It will be in the cards up there somewhere, and you can click on that, watch that, and get my as I'm reading it reaction. This video is going to be a chat with Heather about this book, and we're going to go into a little bit of non-spoiler stuff, but mostly it's going to be spoilers. So if you want, the vlog is entirely spoiler-free though, so if you want to just see my spoiler-free thoughts, then you can go watch that, and you can stay here for a little bit, and we'll talk about Where the Crawdads Sing in some spoiler-free detail, and then we're going to get into a spoilery chat. So stay tuned for that. If you have read the book, or if you don't care about spoilers, but like, you should read it because it's good. Yeah. Editing Selena here. Sorry for the terrible lighting, but I just wanted to pop in really quickly and say that there are timestamps for all the sections of this video, including the spoiler and non-spoiler section, and within those sections, the things that Heather and I talked about in the description below, and they are available if you need to skip around. Also, there will be trigger warnings for the spoiler section. We are going to be talking about some of the events that go down in the book, some of which have triggering content. I do list the trigger warnings for this book in the pinned comment down below, and so if you're worried about that, I would go check that comment and then skip around as you must. There will also be trigger warnings of certain discussions in the description, so I can tell you exactly where the triggering content is, and there will probably be a warning in the video as well. Also, one more thing, I have other videos in this series. I'll link them in the cards too. I already read Udi's favorite book, my friend Udi's favorite book, or one of his favorite books, and so if you want to go see that stuff, you can go check the cards for that too. But without further ado, let's get into Heather's favorite book, or one of them. This is Heather.
Hello, yes, that is me.
We've known each other for like 3 years now? 3?
Has it? Hold on.
It's like, no,
like 2.5.
like 2.5, yeah. First, I wanted to ask you just about a little bit so they can get to know your reading taste a little bit. What do you look for in a book?
So actually, I'm sad to say I have not read a whole lot recently, because once you have to read for school, it really makes you want to read less. I don't know, some books I loved in the past, I mean, when I was younger, obviously, Harry Potter. I read Percy Jackson in middle school, probably like most of you. More recently, The Song of Achilles and Circe, because I study Greek and Latin, so like...
You also told me something recently. You said you were more of a writing-driven reader rather than like a plot-driven or a character-driven.
Yeah, well, I was watching some of your videos, and you're like, I'm a plot-driven reader, and I'm like, what kind of reader am I? And I realized that one of the reasons I love this book so much is because the writing is beautiful, and it doesn't seem artificial, it doesn't seem cumbersome, it's not slow, it's pretty overall, and it's flowing and fun to read, and that's one of the things that I feel like I really can't overlook in a book. If the plot's good and the character's good, but the writing is just boring and I think like clunky and or like too artificial, too pretentious, like I can't deal with that. I will name drop Secret History there because I thought it was artificial and pretentious. So yes, I don't know if I would say it's like my favorite book of all time. I don't know if I could tell you my favorite book of all time, but this is definitely one at the top.
Shifting into more specifically Crawdad, do we want to show it?
Yes, okay, so me and Selena bought this, like the deluxe edition. So you can see it has like gold around there and all that. And on the inside it's got this beautiful art, and like that also adds to the experience of reading this book, let me tell you. And then I don't know, like this kind of stuff. It's just pretty. The pages are really like thick and they're like good, hearty. Good pages. Yeah. Yes. Get that edition.
Get that edition. And so what makes you love Where the Crawdads Sing so much? What are your favorite things?
Well, yeah, part of it, we've already said, nature and the writing. But another part is just the simplicity of the story. Like, sometimes stories are simple, and that's really boring and bad. But this is a really simple story because, I mean, it just follows one girl from her, I mean, this is not a spoiler, so like her growing up basically abandoned as a young child, and she doesn't seem out of touch or unrelatable. Like, she's just a kid, you know. I feel like it kind of accurately describes her trying to go to the store for the first time and not knowing what change to give, like how much change to expect, and like little things like that. It's just like, oh, well, of course a 7-year-old wouldn't know how to count change in a Piggly Wiggly, like, and she has to figure out like how to cook herself food, and she's 7, and then she figures out how to get around. She has to figure out how to make money. I mean, it's really a simple and I don't know if it's relatable because I did not grow up like that, but I feel like it's realistic.
It's like it's the action of the story is not super dramatic for most of it. It's very simple day-to-day activities that we can all relate to. And while she has really unique and lonely circumstances, there's things that we can find in her to like latch onto and relate to, even though like we may not have lived her life. Right. So character, that was one great thing.
Yeah, character, it seems like it could be a real story. It's not over dramatic, and that's one of the things I was thinking maybe it would be, because it says right in the inside flap, like, it's partly murder mystery, and sometimes it's kind of hokey when you get in with that, and they're kind of hype up the drama and everything, but it's not. It's a simple, like, small town sheriff investigating, it's not a spoiler either, investigating this dead body they find at the bottom of this fire tower. And, you know, he's just hearing talk from people, he's gathering his own conclusions. It's not like some special agent's, you know, FBI man coming in and he's got all these tricks up his sleeve. It's a very simple, realistic, again.
It's very like small town murder.
It's very small town.
Everybody knows each other. Yeah. Everybody knows the man who is dead, and everybody has information.
And it's also set like before now. I forget what the exact time is.
It goes from like the late 50s to the 70s. Yeah. Yeah.
So I also feel like it represented that well, also at the time period. In high school, I read Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, and I don't know, I wasn't really expecting to not like it, but I actually really, really liked it a lot. Part of it was definitely because she wrote the way that people spoke. And again, with this book, she writes the way that people speak. She writes their accents. And that's something I really appreciated because, I mean, I can, you know, go out and hear those accents where I live. And
in your hometown.
Yeah, in my hometown. And it's, you know, a story of that land as much as it is about Kaya, the main character.
So that was some spoiler-free thoughts on Where the Crawdads Sing. I hope you've enjoyed this vlog. So if you're not staying for spoilers, this is your time to exit. We're gonna head into a spoiler chat. And if you're gonna read it, like, first of all, you should. But like, if you're gonna read it, you should cut out now because, you know, the end of the book, you know, it's the end of the book.
Some books it doesn't matter. Like some books you can know what happens, but like with this, you're not gonna want to know.
You're not gonna want to know. So duck out now, and I will see you in my next video. Now, if you've stayed, we have a lot of thoughts.
We have many thoughts.
Warning, as we get into spoilers, I just wanted to remind you that triggering content is coming up. We're going to be talking, not in a whole lot of detail, but we are going to be mentioning some of the triggering stuff that happens, such as parental neglect and abuse, and also attempted rape. And so protect yourself as you see fit. Timestamps are available in the description if you want to skip those parts. Chase and Tate, why don't we just start with those two? I feel so bad starting with the men when it's a book about her.
Okay, well, Kaya, she doesn't need a man, clearly, because she survived many years on her own. When...
You know what? Yeah, that's actually a good place to start with her, like, surviving as a child in this environment where she has no one.
Actually, the men in this story are... They all disappoint her.
Yes.
First of all, I mean, the story starts with her mother leaving, but quickly her siblings leave because her father is so toxic, and he leaves too at some point. He comes back every now and then, and eventually is gone for good. But even when her father's there, like, he doesn't take care of her. Sometimes they go out and fish, but she like, as a 7, 8, 9-year-old, like, cooks for her father and like makes cornbread and grits.
And she's like surviving and like raising herself, kind of.
She's definitely like, raising herself. And
even when he's there.
You know, he doesn't teach her anything. I don't even know if her father knows how to read.
No,
like, she doesn't know how to read or anything. And how she learns to read
is
freaking, oh my gosh, Tate is the sweetest kid. He's like a couple years older, but I love the scenes of the many years when he's bringing her books and she's learning how to read, and she's not afraid to read anything she can get her hands on. And Tate does teach her, but she really does educate herself in a lot of ways, because how many of us would want to read science textbooks when we first learn how to read?
She does.
Not me, but she does. And she starts cataloging all
the animals. She draws.
Like, as time goes by, she paints all the pictures of the things she finds, and she really teaches herself how to become a scientist. And I'm like, that's amazing. I wouldn't do that.
Also, oh my gosh, I was so happy when one of the books she read was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier.
I thought of Selena when they mentioned that, because she had just read Rebecca.
My gosh. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, Kaya, great taste in books. But also, yeah, she's really resilient, and she has a lot of talents that she didn't need to go to school to curate, which I think is really
I just love that in the end, she publishes her books, and she becomes she gives lectures and whatever, but she doesn't she doesn't leave the marsh and become one of the townspeople or anything, because they had just treated her so wrongly. She couldn't get over it. And even Tate, who is the sweetest guy, he went off to college and he said he'd come back, and he didn't. Which, I get it. How many guys would want to have a girlfriend living in a marsh when they could associate with other people and be in college? But she was so lonely, but she had to learn how to get by and everything. And then Chase comes. Oh my gosh.
Chase, to me, has always been, and I've said this throughout the blog, always been a product of her own loneliness. To me, it was she was so, not that I'm blaming her for anything he did, but because she was so lonely, when you get to that point, she was willing to basically, I don't know if she was willing, because she was never extremely trusting, but she was accepting people.
She was never duped by him. He never tricked her.
No, but she was less willing as the book goes on, to get close to people who maybe didn't deserve to be close to her. Her father, she did for a while want him to be a father and want to trust him, and then later you see her kind of flip and realize he should not have done that to us, he was abusive. And then you get to Tate, and Tate's great, but then he leaves. And then Chase, she can kind of always tell there's something about Chase.
But she doesn't, like Selena said, she doesn't trust him.
No.
Which is a smart move, because he sucks. I felt when I was reading it, I was like, okay, he's interested in her, sort of. He thinks she's a cool person, and he doesn't, at least from the first, it seems like he doesn't just want her body or anything, but that doubt is always still back there, and he's not really a good person. When they go off and spend the night together for the first time, you're like, okay.
Yeah, I was incredibly disturbed.
Okay.
He was just because at first you're like, okay, he doesn't have good intentions with her. He's starting to talk to this marsh girl. He's from this rich, uppity family in
But when you get inside his head, it's okay, well, maybe he's not that bad. Maybe he just doesn't really know what he's, maybe he doesn't know.
Or maybe he's evolved. Maybe he actually does love her, or actually does care for her, or something. And it seems like he does for a long time. He wears that necklace.
He does wear her necklace all the time, which is he definitely had some feelings for her, but not enough to where he
and
do what he did.
What's really interesting to me about Chase is at first you're like, okay, maybe he sucks, and then you're like, okay, maybe he's changing, maybe his feelings are becoming more like love and less this wanting to conquer. And then the further you get into their relationship, there's okay, there's some things that are off.
And then he goes and marries someone else.
And he talks
to Kaya about marrying her and getting a house.
And then he tries to rape her. And
which we hate.
And it just, that scene almost I feel like it recolors your perception
it's
of
the
even
whole
the
time,
necklace.
The whole time I was is it going there? Is he really that bad? I don't think he's that bad. He might be bad, but he's not that bad. And you're like, oh shoot, he is that bad.
Yes.
It was kind of my same feeling. Okay, this is completely unrelated. It was kind of my same feeling as when I read Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy, because you're like, oh, he's he's a bully, but
is he gonna be?
He's not that bad. He wouldn't be a Death Eater. He's not that bad, but he was.
Yeah.
Sort of. I think he deserved a redemption arc, but that's another topic.
Same.
Chase went there,
and it just, the necklace thing, it makes me think of it now, like thinking of it, like it's like maybe that did mark some feelings for her, but maybe it was like more of an obsession, and like this was something he like it, because I think there was definitely some obsessive qualities, like because especially how she was thinking about him at the end, like she was like he won't ever quit.
Whole like exoticizing thing. Like he's like, ooh, she's a wild marsh girl.
Yes, he did exoticize her. He did. He really did. And then it also shows like when someone's exoticizing you, he's not willing to like, you know, give up everything and live in the march like Tate was eventually. Like he was like, no, I'll have this like girl on the side who I think is exotic, but I'm going to either have her move into town and marry me and like give all that up, like he was saying that they would, which yeah, exactly. But then also it was more like, let me just marry someone else and you'll just be this like phase in my life where I like had this girlfriend and I'll marry someone who's like right for me or whatever.
Moving into the whole murder mystery part.
It's Chase that we find dead.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
So, oh my gosh, the murder mystery, it's like, I wouldn't say it's everything the book's about because it's not.
No.
And it doesn't take over the story.
No.
It doesn't like take over Kaya's story, but it is kind of the big climax.
And it's the trial. It's like you see them tie together.
If you stuck around for spoilers, but like you really don't want all the spoilers, but you want a few of the spoilers.
Yeah.
Definitely don't listen to what I'm about to say.
Go now. This is your warning. Proceed.
Yeah, so she did it.
She did it.
The whole time, the whole book you don't know. And I honestly thought we were never gonna find out. I was like approaching the last chapter or two, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, we're just never gonna know if she was innocent or guilty, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I have to make my peace with that. But then
we find out, and it's like
we don't even find out till after she's dead. It's so perfect because it doesn't matter because she is who she is. She's the March girl. She's not a murderer. I mean, I guess technically she's a murderer. Technically, but like it doesn't take over her story like because I mean, she's the March girl. She's this scientist. She's this brilliant woman.
And she wasn't here to be perfect, I think. Like, she's here, she can have all these amazing things about her, but, like, she's also not here to...
and honestly, I love that she did it. Like, I'm not condoning... Murder, killing someone, or pushing them off a fire tower, but, like...
But also...
She did it so freaking well, too. Like, she boated over to the Cape, and then took the bus to Greenville. And then took the bus back in disguise. Took it back in disguise.
Which, what?
Like, that seems like such a hokey explanation. It's like, in a trial, you're saying, this person may have been disguised and then may have taken this bus back and may have sneaked out past the front desk and then may have been disguised a different way coming back. And I'm just like, yeah, right.
Yeah. Like, it's just, it was just done so intricately.
They present all the evidence that they, have
gathered against her,
basically, that they have thought out and gathered against her, and then her defense systematically goes and says, well, this actually doesn't prove anything. You actually can't prove that she was there that night. And you're like, oh, that's right. So when they're presenting all the evidence against her, you're like, oh, maybe she did do it. And then when they're defending it, you're like, oh, okay, maybe she didn't do it. Yeah, you're right. Like, yeah. But then there's like the things like the necklace is gone. She's like, oh, maybe she did do it. And then like the red hat. But then there's this scene where she and Tate are throwing the hat back and forth, and you're like, oh, does she even have the hat? Like maybe, and you're like, maybe someone did it for her.
Yeah,
maybe Tate did it. Maybe Jumpin did it as like a revenge. And then you're like, but what about that shell necklace?
Yeah, there's things that don't wrap up nicely in the trial.
Yeah,
and then.
After she lives her long life with her beautiful husband, man, I cried when she passed away. I gotta tell you guys. It was just so beautiful and perfect. Like, it was so fitting for her. She was just out in nature in her boat. But it was still sad. And then, poor Tate, he goes back and eventually, is it years later or like, I don't know. He goes back at some time. I don't remember. It's been a while. But and he finds the box of stuff under the floorboard or something. Yeah, I think so. And then, oh my gosh. She's the poet, first of all. She's the poet. Amanda
Hamilton, like there's snippets of Amanda Hamilton poetry. He shows her poetry, Tate shows her poetry.
And then there's the poem about the fireflies. Mm-hmm. Which I love because it makes so much sense. Like the whole book, she's drawing everything from nature. She's learning her lessons from nature.
Because she doesn't have like anyone else influencing her. Yeah.
So she learns her lessons from the fireflies. And I think she even is thinking that in her head, like during the trial or at some point. Mm-hmm. She's like, oh, that's what the fireflies do. Mm-hmm. Like
she thinks about it like after Tate. Like when Tate comes and tries to find her.
But you don't put the pieces together until the very end. She's talking about how sometimes the female fireflies sometimes they'll signal to attract a mate, but sometimes they'll like kill the mate.
When the mate comes, yeah.
Yeah.
And the mates like don't.
And then the men are fooled because they're stupid. I mean.
Yeah.
And then she does the same thing. She was probably like, Chase, let's meet up at the fire tower. And then he's like, ooh, okay. Uh-huh. And then she was like, haha, I'm gonna kill you.
She pushed him off. I cannot. The other it's just, I think it was just so well written. Like what I really love about like a plot that weaves together is I like when things feel like they were like really intentional and like really masterfully done. And I think like I've just now realized with the officers, like the whole time with the officers, you're set up with Kaya's like backstory, seeing her go to school, seeing the prejudice she faces from the town. You see that and you're like, wow, this town has a lot of prejudice against her. And then the officers are like making these wild leaps in their investigation. And honestly, like they shouldn't have been able to figure this out. Like they should not have been able to trace her to it. The only reason they did, because the only reason they actually did is because of this prejudice. And so yes, prejudice played a part in them like trying to like put together this case, but the whole time you're thinking, oh, she didn't do it. This is a story about someone who is wrongfully.
Sometimes you think she did do it.
Sometimes. I at first I was like, no, and then I was like, did she, with like the necklace and stuff? And then I was like, no.
More like, I was more thinking that someone did it for her.
Yeah, same. I was thinking it would be Tate.
And they
took
the necklace as like evidence or something. But you never get enough inside anyone's head to where, like, even Kaya, she's not thinking, oh, I'm innocent, or oh, I'm proved guilty. She's thinking, oh, I want to go back to the marsh.
And she's also not even like, it's really interesting because like one thing that like literary fiction often does in my experience is there's also often a distance from the character's mind. Like how I've described it before is like with other books that aren't literary fiction, you can really get inside the head of the characters and you'll be feeling what they feel, you'll be doing what they do with them. But with literary fiction, you can really understand them, but you won't be like walking with them, like you won't be going with them. And Kaya never really lets even us into her head, like, and it's a mark of her like not trusting people.
She's guarded. She's separated from the people.
Mm-hmm. And usually when literary fiction does that, I'm like, it doesn't always work for me because I really want to connect with your characters. But with this one, it really worked because that's Kaya's character.
Yeah.
And it was used for the plot in such a good way because you can't have her thinking like every thought or else you'd know the end of the mystery. And so I just think everything this book did, even though the mystery is like not a big part of the book, it managed to do everything it did in order for this ending to come together and for this mystery to like...
Which I didn't expect... Like I said, I didn't expect she was going to tell us.
No, yeah.
If she did it or not.
Mm-hmm. And that's like the classic move, especially like with different... So I've read like a lot of like classics where there's like a woman who's been wronged by a man and then like she like... There's sometimes like revenge plots or you just have to see how she like figures out how to deal with that, and it's in different ways, and sometimes it's very vague. A lot of classics don't like to show women in like a really like negative light, like with murdering or like anything like that, and so it's always really vague, and so I was expecting that. No, we know a definitive answer.
And it's good though because you don't really blame her.
Yeah,
I don't really blame her.
Yeah, I think it's hard.
I probably wouldn't have
her.
done it, but like I don't know.
It's hard to blame her unless you've like been there, or like it's just hard because Chase is it's a really interesting like morality question to me, like because you could argue, was it in self-defense, was it vigilante work, was it taking out someone who would have been like a predator, like what was it, just revenge?
Honestly,
like, what was
it's a question I don't really care to answer because it's not necessary. It's just the book is what it is. She is who she is. Tate I don't think he really blames her.
No.
I think he probably had a sneaking suspicion that she did it. But he never finds out until after she's gone, and I don't really think he cares either.
And I really
he understands her, and as much as we can understand her, like, it makes sense.
And I really appreciate how the book lets her have that almost. Where the Crawdads Sing just like lets Kaya be her, all her amazing parts, all her like less, maybe more morally gray parts, the things you agree with her less on. Mm-hmm. And I really just appreciate that about the book. It lets you decide for morality.
I mean, overall, the book was good, but what sealed it for me was the atmosphere. And like, I feel like it was kind of it was a true picture of like a small southern town, I think. I mean, obviously I wasn't alive in the 50s, 60s, or 70s, but you know. It
was very much like,
I mean, just like they're going to the local diner and they're getting like cornbread and shrimp because they're on the coast, and grits, and oh my gosh, shrimp and grits. Ooh, don't even get me started. Oh my gosh, another thing about the writing and accent, it's like as Kaya gets educated, you can see the writing, not only how her speech is written, but even how her thoughts are written starts to change.
It becomes like
becomes more like formal, like written language. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting how she indicated, like, not that there's anything wrong with that, because there isn't. You know, you could speak how you speak. Language is arbitrary, but it shows how education will like change not only like your speech, but also your thought patterns, and that affects how the book is written.
Yes.
That's just a very minor thought that really.
Heather.
Another reason why I like the book.
Heather loves languages.
I do love languages. Yeah, I mean, it's quality. So
that was our discussion on Where the Crawdads Sing. You should read it. Heather would probably
hopefully if you're this far, you've already read it.
So thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed having Heather here. I love having Heather here. Thank you for coming onto the video, and hopefully we can get Heather in a few more videos soon.
We'll see.
Maybe someday. Tell her how great she is in the comments. Okay, anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.
Bye.
I have gotten recommendations from Heather in the past, Song of Achilles, Circe, as I've said, and I've really enjoyed them. And so I was really excited to do this with Heather and pick her favorite book for this series. It was actually, this is a secret, it was actually you reading this book and loving it that made me want to do this series, which made me want to start a YouTube channel.
What? Yeah. You guys, I'm responsible for this whole thing.
This whole mess is
so much of the world just hinges on my existence.